Is like tasting fine wine, Ken. It puts you in touch with an interesting and rewarding dimension of reality. It is a big deal.
Poetry as a way of knowing. Next time on Philosophy Talk. Listen to Philosophy Talk today at noon on KSJE 90.9 FM, Farmington. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here for you, providing safe, quality care. Stay informed on the COVID-19 developments to protect yourself and your loved ones at sanjuanregional.com or the COVID-19 information line at 505-516-0938 or 888-949-5387. San Juan Regional Medical Center, caring for the Four Corners since 1910. 10 minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Tuesday morning, April 21st. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Nicklin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere from our website at ksje.com. Special good morning also to our viewers who are watching our visual radio program on the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. We are glad that you are with us, everybody. Coming up in the next few moments, we're talking about Aztec schools today. I'll be joined by Superintendent Kirk Carpenter and Deputy Superintendent Tanya Prokop this morning for our conversation. So stay tuned for that. Getting started in the next few moments right here on KSJE. It is Tuesday, and so later on this hour, we'll do what we do on Tuesdays, checking in with Amber Francisco at the Farmington Regional Animal Shelter to show you some of the pets available for adoption this week. That you will hear and see at 8:50 a.m. And then, of course, at 9, don't forget, I'll be joined with Megan Cullop, our co-host of our local information program about the coronavirus, sharing local information from local folks who are in the know. And today, actually, we had a great story about how some local businesses, San Juan College, and others are teaming together to produce some personal protective equipment for healthcare workers at the makerspace here at San Juan College. So we're happy to share that story with you today at 9 a.m. You can watch it, of course, as a live streaming show on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. On the radio side of things, Mick Hess will continue roving with the arts at 9 a.m. He is playing more Bach cantatas for us. Today we're up to Bach cantata number 125 and 126 and roving with the arts at 9. A rebroadcast of our COVID-19 program on the radio at 5 p.m. this afternoon. That's rebroadcast every afternoon at KSJE. And don't forget, of course, in addition to Facebook and YouTube, you can follow us on Twitter and check us out on Instagram as well. Our weather forecast, we're expecting some scattered showers throughout the day today and a mostly cloudy day. The high 63 in Farmington, 43 overnight tonight. It'll be windy for Wednesday and Thursday with a bit more sunshine. Highs near 70 both days and overnight lows near 40. Mostly sunny skies. The winds calm down again on Friday with a high near 70, 73 and sunshine on Saturday, and 78 with partly sunny skies on Sunday and maybe some low 80s for Monday of next week. Well, let me turn to my guests who are joining me this morning through the miracle of Zoom, and we have Deputy Superintendent Tanya Prokop, who is here this morning. Good morning. Thanks for being here. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Scott. It's good to be seen.
That's right. Nice to see you. Kirk Carpenter is also joining us this morning. Mr. Carpenter, good morning to you.
Morning, Scott. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Great to see you both. And it's been about a month since we last got together with Mr. Carpenter, and so give us an update on how things are going with Aztec schools. Your school district, like every other one in New Mexico, has moved to online instruction through the end of the school year. And how has that transition been going? Because I know you're in it with everybody else.
Yeah, Scott, it's been busy. There's been, I think one thing we've tried to message is that campuses are closed, but learning's not. And we are trying to push out new learning. We are taking, I think in some cases, a different approach. We're allowing kids to try to raise grades, especially at the secondary level, and that all the learning does matter and it does count. It's not something we're just trying to keep kids engaged and try to say, if you want to do this, do this. It does matter. We're looking at many decisions. we've lost 9 weeks of opportunity with kids in some respects, but we're not taking that approach. We feel like that it's a different approach. Obviously, the amount of time that we have with kids every day is not the same. So we've had to take and look at the critical skills we want to try to engage our students in, and try to keep the equity across our district, because not every single student has a computer, not every single student has connectivity. So we had to do a survey that was very extensive to identify specifically what do you have, what availability, whether it's a cell phone, even to the extent do you have a TV that will take a USB to where we could load things such as materials on those. Do you need packets? So we've taken a hybrid approach. We don't have a one-to-one in our district. One day we might get there, but there's a lot that needs to go into that. It's not a matter of just having computers and handing them out, although I will tell you that we have done that. We've handed out tablets at the elementaries. We've taken those out of schools and loaded up a lot of the same kinds of work that students were doing at the elementaries, so that they're used to that work. It's not something new they're having to learn. They're very much used to what they're doing, and tried to get that out to as many students. We're delivering work out to students, but we're trying not to bring that work back on a weekly basis. We're going to bring it back later on in the year. We have specific protocols, not to alarm listeners to say you're sending out work and bringing it back. What about the COVID-19? We've been very careful and trying to work with the New Mexico Department of Health even on how, when we bring back work, what we're doing with it. We're quarantining that work once we get it back before we even look at it with teachers and that type of thing. So we've been very comprehensive in our approach because work does matter. I think that's the biggest thing. We're not just trying to send out work and say, okay, we don't want it back, because then you have to ask yourself, why are you sending it out? Is it just busy work? And we're not taking that approach. We are taking the approach that it does matter. Kids can improve their grades. And when I say that, there was a pass-fail approach. Well, even if it's a pass-fail approach, you have to grade the work. And so we did not do some things. And I'm, again, some districts opened up their third quarter grades, allowed kids to improve those. We couldn't do that in our approach because of the way we grade. We grade a little bit different in Aztec. Third quarter is over with. We don't average quarters. We have a grading system that goes over the course of 18 weeks. So two approaches. Mm-hmm. Seniors have one thing. They have to get their credits. They have to get done. So we had to have one program for them, and then we prioritize that for them, and then we have to have a program for the pre-K through 11th graders. All districts had to do the same thing. There's 89 districts across the state, not including all the charter schools. Everybody had a little bit different twist, because everybody needs a different twist, because everybody has a different story in their district as far as what they have, what they don't have. But what I want to say is that even in our area, I want to commend all the surrounding districts as well. The hard work that they're doing for their students, the type of work they're doing for their students, but specifically in our district, our principals and our teachers, what is happening is magical. And, some people I know for me, I've been trying to be very positive. Our whole district has. I know Miss Prokop, and I'll let her mention it in just a second. I don't want to steal her thunder. She's been very positive and sending out positive quotes and being very upbeat. We have a choice on how we handle this. We don't have a choice on what we're being dealt, but we have a full choice on how we handle this, what we do with it. And some of the things that are happening as a result of COVID-19, the things that teachers are doing, the things they're learning, how they're interacting with their students. We are socially isolated, although I think that in some respects the social isolation may be a misnomer, because I think we're being more socially connected than ever before because of COVID-19. This conversation, the way we are connecting over Zoom, other ways, we are connecting more so than probably ever before because we're being forced to. Whether it's families sharing dinners, even though it's not together sitting in the same room, I think our family, over the course of the internet or the course of the cell phone, sharing what we're eating, we've had more connections than ever before. So I think there's some beauty in what's happening. Unfortunately, there's some tragedies as well, and I do not want to downplay that. But I think what we need to do is pull out some of the positive things that are happening as well. And hopefully the medical experts, I want to thank them, all the essential staff, from a heart, thank them. God bless what they're doing, because they are putting themselves out. You know, I think we've expanded the definition of who heroes are as a result of this. And we're a long way from this being over. And we want to thank them from the bottom of our hearts. But in any situation, there's a lot of positives. And we're seeing the same thing in what's happening educationally, too. That's a important part, but not the most important part of what's happening in this whole situation. So a lot of things are happening with food delivery, academic delivery, and the most important thing we're trying to do is take care of the social and emotional part of our families, because that is the first and foremost thing we want to do as well, because there's a lot of things hitting families, the working situation, and we're not naive to that, and we want to make sure we're addressing that. So there are just a lot of things happening, and more so than ever before, I think, if people don't realize that schools are very, very busy, and teachers and principals, administrators, if they think that they're not as busy, they're probably more busy, because they're having to do things a lot differently. So
I would tend to agree with you, Mr. Carpenter, and we've seen that, I think, at districts throughout the state, as I mentioned, and yours is no different. And I think maintaining that positive attitude is really important during these times, especially for your students and for your teachers. Tanya Prokop, Mr. Carpenter mentioned a little bit about some of the things that you are doing in that regard. Can you share a little bit more about your perspective on all this?
Absolutely, Scott. So as Kirk talked about, you know, I think we have to reframe things, and it's hard sometimes, but we have to look at things as looking for the opportunity in a situation. There's a time where we can go to doom and gloom, but let's not stay there very long, and let's take a look at the different opportunities. Just one of the things that I do is every Tuesday I send out some kind of a positive quote to all of our staff and put a little touch on it that makes it a little bit more personal. And it's really interesting the amount of people that end up shooting me an email back, and then this conversation goes with that, back and forth a little bit. I make sure that I email them right back with a little message, and then they'll ask about something, and we're social creatures, and we're not getting that bucket filled. And so any way that we can reach out to our staff and to our students and to our community is really beneficial. Crook talked about the food delivery. You know, our transportation folks and our kitchen staff, they're pushing out close to 3,000 meals a day. And what that means is somebody comes to the bus stops or these different stops where our food deliveries are happening, and they receive a bag. In that bag are actually 2 meals, a breakfast and then a lunch. And our kitchen staff has become very creative in putting meals in there that you could eat cold, or you could microwave, like fried chicken, a meatball sandwich. And in those interactions, it's not just here's a bag. There's conversation that's happening. Our bus drivers are getting homemade cards of thanks from kids. And anybody that's ever received a homemade card from any kind of a student, I mean, it touches your heart. And so that's one way that our bucket gets filled up with positivity. It's just those interactions with food deliveries. We also have it through some of these online platforms where we're delivering lessons. Our goal is to minimize the unfinished learning that COVID-19 could cause. We're going to try to really minimize that. And so our teachers are using different kinds of online platforms. Zoom, we've put in some protective things with Zoom because we know that it could be invaded by the bad guys, right? So we also use Google Meets and Google Classroom. But in those different online platforms, in those virtual class settings, what I have heard is happening is that there's just connections. There's times for some lessons to be happening, but there's also times for kids to see their peers. And it doesn't matter if it's a kindergarten class or a high school English class. Just that little bit of interaction and seeing folks makes you feel like you're not so alone out there. And that can be kind of a scary feeling. We've got some different resources that we're really tapping into our district. We were lucky enough to bring on board a mental health coordinator and a nurse coordinator. And those folks are being stretched into their capacities as well. Glennis Mays works with our mental health, and so she's helping our teachers, our staff, and helping everybody just reach into that positive dog, right? There's a negative dog and there's a positive dog. So we're going to tap in and feed that positive dog as much kibble as we possibly can. And then our nurse coordinator, Erin Rakowicz, she's really helping us with, this is kind of her world, to help us about learning about germs and tapping into those resources at the Department of Health so that we know how to protect our staff, so we know how to protect our students and still fill a need that everybody has.
Very good. And Mr. Carpenter, let me turn back to you a little bit. You mentioned the survey that you were doing to find out kind of the capabilities that your students have at their homes. Were you surprised at the results of that? I think a lot of school districts have found that maybe their students aren't as connected as maybe they thought that they were. And we know we have an issue in our state about internet connectivity and service and availability and those types of things. Is that surprising to you, or is that just something that you were expecting?
Yeah, Scott, we were probably more surprised that more of our students were probably more connected. Now, when I say that, they didn't have as many devices of their own.
Right.
So in some respects, surprised that they had the capability, but we still have a lot of places that don't have connectivity, and some of that involves maybe not having internet where they have cell signals, or so some of that we're still trying to take care of, getting hotspots. But even trying to get hotspots, when I say that, it's not just okay, get online and order them, because
there's a big demand, isn't there? I don't know if you can order them today.
Well, you can get some, but it's almost like toilet paper.
Yeah.
So it's that type of situation. But we're still not stopping. If we have that availability for 3 weeks, we're still going to try, because I think what we have to realize is that going through what we are right now may not be the only time period we go through this. Experts are saying that there could be another phase. And so we're not going to be naive in thinking that once we get through this, we can just go, whew, that's over with. That's not going to be the case. We want to make sure that we're prepared for whatever next phase might be here. And so we're going to gear up for that and be ready for it. However, whatever that may be or be like, we want to make sure that in that next phase, I don't know how we roll this out any quicker, because even our technology department was just absolutely incredible. And that department, we call them the Delta Force, because those guys, they are low in number, but what they put out as far as work is just incredible. And what they did here is they're still doing it. We're still going to roll out some computers. In fact, later today, tomorrow, we're still doing that. And because what happened is the secondary, we had the ability to get a lot more technology out to kids. The elementaries, we're still doing it. We started out with a lot more of the packets, the type of packets, getting paper, those types of things. And again, in order to do that, you have to have manpower at schools. But what I want to assure, again, listeners, is we followed the protocols. No more than 5. We had certain things masked. We have a mask policy in our district, meaning that if we do have people coming into work, I'm in my office. I've been in my office every day. I've been doing that because we have transportation people here. I feel like it's important for me to be here. I'm doing a lot of coordination with meetings, but we have a very limited staff here. We have some people coming into the business office on an as-need basis. We have some people in the personnel office as-need basis. Once their work's done, they're gone. But if anybody's in the building, if there's more than one person, we wear masks. We put in a mask policy in our district. The same thing happens when they're coming in to put in any kind of learning package together. We put in a specific protocol and policy that you have a mask on. So we're taking extra steps, and I think that's what's important for people to understand is we are not in any way trying to take advantage, but there are exceptions to schools as far as doing some of that. There are some schools where their teachers are at work. I think that's across the state. Now, we're not doing that, but we are taking extra precautions. So even when we're putting these learning packets together and when we're delivering them, it's not a hand-to-hand delivery. In some cases, parents came to schools and picked them up. They picked them up out of bins. So it wasn't a hand-to-hand exchange. When we're delivering meals, I think the other important thing there is it's a 6-foot we're keeping that distance. We're maintaining all the protocols that are being established by the New Mexico Department of Health, for obvious reasons. So I just want to make sure that people understand that we're not in any way trying to violate what's being established by the protocols by the Department of Health or even the governor as far as having more than 5 people in a certain place. And we're not taking advantage of that. As soon as things are done, then we're having people leave. But in order to get things out to students in a district like ours, you're going to have people come in and do that. And so that's what we have done. So it's been, like I said, in some cases, our approach has had to be different than in some places like Farmington's a good example. They have a 1-to-1. It's a beautiful setup. They have computers for all their students, which is a beautiful setup. And in ours, we're not there yet. And I think there's in most states, or in most districts in the state, they don't have a 1-to-1. But we're still in the process of moving our elementary schools, is what I was trying to get to, where they started out with a lot of packets, and let's say 60% of their students doing packets, and now they're reducing that to a lot more online because we've pulled all the tablets, all the technology that we can, where we have computers on wheels, for example. We've pulled those out of schools and assigned them to students. And that is a huge undertaking because you have to clean those computers up, both sanitary cleaning and clean them as far as the programs. But the work that has taken place, we could talk for hours of what had to be done. But what's beautiful, and I mean this, is all you have to do is say, we need to get these things done, and the department, the cabinet folks, and their staff, they just start working. And all you have to do is check in. You don't have to stay on them about deadlines. They get it done. And like I said, as a superintendent, very blessed to have. You're only as good as who you surround yourself with. You'll never hear me say anything good about myself, but I must be a pretty good superintendent because we have tremendous people that I'm surrounded with. And I'm very blessed to be, if you ever have a situation like this, because just tremendous people around me. And so I couldn't have a better team to handle a situation like this. And from cabinet down, they've done a tremendous job. Nothing's ever perfect. It's the Gumby rule, and that's, I think, what they've heard me say several times, is we have to be firm but flexible. Firm in what we're trying to do and the mission we have to serve kids and our staff and families. But we have to also be flexible because nothing's going to be perfect.
Understood. And Kirk Carpenter, for folks who are listening to us on the radio, I just want them to know they're missing out getting to see the office that you're in, your office at district office or central office. It's dripping in Tiger Pride, I have to say. So I invite folks, our radio audience, to check it out online, and they can see even the tiger behind you is awesome, I have to say.
Yeah,
so
I'm a kid at heart. Probably you come in my office, it may look like a athletic director's office, but
well, we definitely know you're an Aztec this morning.
Yeah,
we can't miss that. So
it's a tiger.
There you go. That's right. Tanya Prokop, talk to me a little bit about how your teachers are doing, of course, as they make this transition into online learning, and as Mr. Carpenter was saying, either putting together packets or putting things online for their students and being able to reach out with them. We were talking before we came on the air this morning a little bit about just missing that face-to-face aspect of being in the classroom and looking out at all those shiny, bright faces ready to learn, and our teachers everywhere are not being able to do that as much as they used to be, or at least doing it more in maybe an online context. So what are you hearing from them?
Sure. Like I mentioned earlier, we're using some of those different online platforms.
Right.
I heard from one of our staff members who's a parent and an administrator, and her child attends school in Aztec and is in first grade. And the first grade teacher did a Zoom meeting, and what was interesting, the feedback was the teacher was doing like a morning kind of calendar kind of activity that she would normally do at the rug in her classroom. And now she was doing it through a Zoom meeting. And so she created a space in her own home where she was reaching out to the kiddos, and they do a lot of things out loud. And what our administrator / parent noticed was that engagement level, that her daughter wasn't putting herself out there like she knew she probably would in the classroom setting. So because that's what we do and that's a safe space in the classroom, and I'm doing this from home now. So it was kind of a different feeling. But what this administrator said was that it warmed her heart just to see her daughter connect with her teacher in that special way that they do, and with her other friends that are in the classroom, and just seeing them. And I know that as an educator, it fills that bucket a little bit for them as well. It's different,
Sure.
but it's helping, because we are social creatures, and sometimes in our homes we can really feel alone. But because of these online platforms, it gives us this opportunity to at least reach out there and be with our kiddos in that special relationship that we do have with our students. And it's different, but it's working. Again, John Gordon does some writings, and he talks about the positive dog and feeding that positive dog. We also talked earlier about parents.
Right.
They've got their struggles as well. And I mean, I can't even imagine being a parent and all of a sudden having to homeschool and juggle maybe work, or the stress of not being able to work and being at home with their child, and the stress that can put on. And so there's different things for parents and families to put into place, just to go out and do a gratitude walk, even just walking your neighborhood or going outside into your yard or wherever it is, minding all the codes that we have from the governor and respecting all those with social distancing. But take a gratitude walk and look at the good things that are out there, and have write these things down or express them with your family. There's research out there about smiling and laughing and the production of serotonin that helps us with our moods, and just putting on that brave face and putting on that smile, laughing, just sharing stories and bringing out some laughter. There's cat videos. There's all kinds of videos online that can make us laugh and smile, and looking at that. And those are things that our staff has to remember to do as well. Spending time with positive people, even whether it be virtually
Right.
or in your family. Reach out to those positive people that you have. I installed an app to help me with that. It's called Marco Polo, and you can do like these real quick videos that you share back and forth. And I end up just laughing hysterically at some of the silly things that I'm getting, and laughing at myself as I push them out as well. But if we can make those kind of connections as well. And then just sharing the gift of kindness, being kind to one another. Neighbors reaching out to each other, faculty reaching out to each other and just sharing tools that work, and have you tried this? Or just tapping in and seeing how you're doing, getting a phone call, getting an email, and just reaching out to people like that. And let's remember to smell the roses. They're kind of thorny, and we got to be careful, but a rose and smelling the rose. And with that analogy, just spending time in nature, going outside again, and trying to find those different opportunities in life, and reaching out to people that maybe normally we wouldn't reach out to, and reaching out to them differently.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. That is some great advice. Tanya Prokop, thank you very much. And Mr. Carpenter, we only have a couple of minutes remaining, but I know you are working on putting together an online series with another person that everyone's familiar with, Ron Price, of course. And so that is something you're developing for the district and for your staff and parents, correct?
Yeah, and it's a perfect segue. And you see why I talked about surrounding myself with great people, why Tanya's in the position she's in. I mean, she does a great job with our staff. Ron Price, we're working on a new series. We haven't even named it. What we're trying to do is stay connected and work on the social emotional side of things, but more importantly, give people tools, not just talk to them about different things, but give them tools to put in their toolbox. We've done a couple of YouTube videos. We've sent them out. We're posting them on our Facebook. We're sending them out to all staff. We're encouraging everybody to watch them with their families. We've done 2 with Ron. Anybody that knows Ron, he does a tremendous job. He's never one to try to be a therapist or anything. He's a humorous kind of guy, and what he wants to do is just to genuinely help people. But in times that we're going through right now, it can be very hard. It can be very difficult, just as Ms. Prokop spoke about, because of the nature of what we're facing. and the nature of being confined in many respects. And so we're doing a series. We're going to do it for the next several weeks until we get through the hardest part of what we're facing with COVID-19. COVID-19 is not going to dictate who we are. It's really not, and we can't let it. So, but there's going to be times when we face different things. And the first series we did was about emotional hijacking, how emotions hijack what we do or what we say or how we think, and we can't let that happen. And so it was a 9-minute YouTube. That's about what we're going to do. The second one was about calling timeouts. Whether that's now or in life in general, we need to learn how to call timeouts and stop conversations sometimes and revisit them. And there's good ways to do it, and there are bad ways to do it. And so Ron, in his approach, brings very good common sense ways to say, you know what, we need to revisit this. I'm going to come back, and we're going to do this at this time. But that's a tool that can be used in life in general and help families, helps anybody. I don't care if it's in your professional or personal life. And so what we're doing is working through some of those types of things. Those are just two good brief examples, but we have plenty more to come. We're excited about it because these are things that can help right now in the current situation we're going through, but there's going to be a lot of things we're talking about, and these are positive things, not negative. They're positive things, but you know what? They're real, and it's in the reality we're facing. So we're very excited to team up with Ron. He's done other work with our district, with our administrators. Ron is, like I said, he's never short of energy, never short of wisdom. As he says, he's just borrowing stuff from what he's learned, and so he's an educator. And so we're glad to have him as part of our family to share. And if it can help families, that's what we want to do because, as I said earlier, social emotional is number one with what we're going through. And that's what we want to do. So we're putting them out there for everybody, not just Aztec family, this whole community, because we're all in it together. So one other thing I want to mention is we put out a flag challenge.
Okay.
The Banish family here in Aztec started it. That, you know what, in times like this, we need, even though we're apart, we need to come together. And one way to do that in the greatest country in the world is put out your flag. Why not just saturate our red, white, and blue? It stands for so many things. That we support our people, our frontline people, our heroes. Anytime there's a crisis, which we're facing, is we put our flags out every day. So let's saturate our community with flags. And so we put out a flag challenge that let's put our flags out every day. If we're ever in crisis, after 9/11, flags went out. If there's ever a big crisis in our country, why not saturate our flags and show support for those heroes that are out there every single day putting their lives on the line, which they are. Nurses, doctors, the essential people, the people that are out there making sure we have groceries, the truck driver, everybody. And so we've put out a flag challenge, and we put that challenge out now to everybody. Hang your flags. Now's the time to show that we're united as a country, as communities, and we support all those people that are doing the frontline things for us during this crisis. And if there's ever a time to stand together, it's now. And so we have that challenge out there for people. So we send out that challenge to you and everybody else out there that's listening to this, that, you know what, let's get our flags out and let's show that as a country, we stand together even though we're apart.
There you go. Well, thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Challenge accepted. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you very much, Kirk Carpenter, Superintendent of Aztec Schools. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks, Scott, and stay safe, and we appreciate you having us. And again, thanks for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. Tanya Prokop, great to see you as well. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity, Scott. Everybody out there, thanks for everything that you're doing. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay calm.
There you go. Good advice. My guest this morning from Aztec Schools with me here on KSJE. I'll be back with more in just a moment, everybody. The time right now is 8:43.
Security experts say mobile voting